Let's start with the most alarming parts of this story. The bruises. This isn't just about messy parenting or being overwhelmed. These are repeated physical marks that have raised serious concerns. And the most shocking part? They have gone mostly unnoticed or ignored. It's one thing to struggle with maintaining a tidy home. It's another thing entirely when minors show up on camera or in photos with unexplained bruises or injuries. These marks are not in places where kids typically fall or bump into things while playing. They are on areas like upper arms, along ribs, and near the stomach. These are not light bruises either. They look painful, and in some cases, they have been seen more than once. When something like that is repeatedly visible, it goes beyond simple clumsiness or roughhousing. It suggests something more serious. It suggests something might be happening behind closed doors that these kids shouldn't be experiencing. These kinds of recurring physical signs are not random. They tend to show patterns over time. And that's what makes this more than just speculation. It's concerning. Viewers and followers began to notice these patterns. Some even started saving the images and comparing them, the same types of marks in similar places at different times. This isn't just about messy surroundings anymore. It's about repeated signs of something being seriously wrong. There is one particular image that got people talking. It showed a round mark on the boy's stomach. The image was clear and circulated quickly, causing a lot of reactions online. Some viewers thought it looked like a burn, which would be deeply concerning if true. Others guessed it could have come from blunt force trauma, like hit with something hard or pushed into something. No matter what people believed caused it, everyone agreed on one thing. It didn't look like a regular bruise from a fall. It didn't look like something that happens during regular play. It looked like something that came from someone else.
Photos resurface of Alexandra Sable's kids covered in bruises. Her BF has been caught admitting to beating his kids in the comments of TikTok. He really has no shame saying it's called discipline. Nah, this is called abuse. Before Alex got back together with Taylor, she posted about how her son threatened his self-harm solely because he doesn't want to go to Taylor's house, where he is being beat. Look at the placement of these bruises. Someone is abusing this little boy. This is not from falling and tripping on the playground. Look at the bruises on her daughter's arm too. If you are still supporting them, you are the problem too. Something is going on in that house, and it's beyond fast food and filth. This man is a borderline smegs offender and a child beater and abuser. Their son has been caught saying mom hits me, but dad hits harder. Alex is hitting them too. Let's not forget what he did outside her bedroom.
When people in the comment section asked about the mark and accused him of causing it, Taylor didn't deny it. He didn't say it was a misunderstanding or the mark came from something innocent. Instead, he wrote, "It's called discipline." That one sentence shocked people even more than the bruise itself. There was no clarification after that, no explanation to say what he meant, no apology, no attempt to calm people's concerns. Instead, the comment just sat there. It felt like he was doubling down, like he was proud of it, as if using physical punishment wasn't just something he did, it was something he stood by. And then there is Alex. Despite all this, she stayed with him. She didn't speak up to correct what he said. She didn't defend her son or try to clarify the situation. She kept living with him and letting him be around her kids. Even after a public comment like that, even after people pointed out how serious the situation looked, she created no distance. It was as if nothing had happened. Even when dozens of comments started pouring in, warning her and pointing out how inappropriate and dangerous his statement was, neither of them said a word. They didn't delete the comment. They didn't follow up with any concern. They didn't do anything to acknowledge the seriousness of the situation. That silence from both of them, especially after such a bold, alarming comment, said everything. It told viewers that they didn't see a problem, that they weren't going to change anything, And that was just as upsetting as the bruise itself. Left alone at 7. Alex once said on a live stream that she leaves her oldest son, who's around 7 years old, home alone. And the way she said it wasn't with any hesitation. She didn't sound like she was worried about it or even aware that it might be an issue. She said it casually, like it was just part of her regular routine. She explained that when she goes out, she usually brings the two younger kids but leaves her son behind because he can't take care of his sisters. That statement alone raises eyebrows. It suggests that she sees him as unhelpful rather than recognizing that he's a young boy who shouldn't be in a caretaker role in the first place. That's deeply concerning. Leaving a child that age alone at home, even once, is risky. Doing it regularly, that crosses into dangerous territory. 7 years old is not old enough to be left unsupervised, not for long periods, and especially not without checking in. And based on her tone during that live stream, it didn't sound like this was a rare emergency situation. It sounded like something she does often. She mentioned that he asks to come along when she lives with the younger kids, and not in an excited, playful way, but because he doesn't want to be left behind. That's not a kid trying to be involved. That's a kid trying to avoid being alone. That's a red flag. It shows discomfort. It shows that he feels unsafe, uneasy, or just plainly scared to be left in a house by himself. And for a child that age to have to ask repeatedly not to be left behind, only to still be left alone, that's not just carelessness. That's neglect. This raises important questions about safety and common sense. What if something goes wrong while she's out? What if there is a fire, a break-in, or even just a situation where he gets scared and doesn't know what to do? What if he needs help urgently? Who is he supposed to call? What is he supposed to do? These are questions that any responsible parent should be asking themselves. And yet, based on how casually Alex shared this, it doesn't sound like she thought about them at all. And that's what's so alarming. This isn't a situation where a mistake happened and she learned from it. This is her describing a repeated behavior without any self awareness. It suggests a pattern and not a safe one. One of the most disturbing moments came when a neighbor reportedly found Alex's younger daughter, barely over a year, outside alone, completely unsupervised. A toddler who could barely walk was seen wandering the neighborhood, putting herself in serious danger. This wasn't just a quick slip out of the door. She had clearly been outside long enough for someone to notice, process what they were seeing, and then take their time to call the police. Thankfully, a neighbor saw her and stepped in. But the fact that it got to that point is terrifying. At that age, even a few minutes outside alone can lead to tragedy. There are cars, strangers, animals, and other dangers that a child that young cannot recognize or avoid. She wasn't just out of sight, she was out of safety. But here's what's confusing. There were no follow-up reports, no public consequences. Somehow, the incident just disappeared. And according to what's been shared online, nothing happened. There was no wellness check, no investigation that we know of, no temporary removal of the kids for safety assessment. Everything just went back to normal like nothing happened. This should have been a major turning point. Even in the case of a simple parenting mistake, most families would expect some kind of response. A call from Child Protective Services, a knock at the door, a conversation about how this happened and how it's being prevented in the future. But not in this case. It was like the entire incident was brushed aside. That makes people wonder, if something this serious didn't lead to consequences, what else has happened that we don't even know about? If a toddler wandering outside alone isn't enough to raise alarm bells, how many other incidences have been missed, ignored, or hidden completely? The diabetes concern. Screenshots of Alex's own texts show that her son was taken to the hospital and doctors suspected diabetes. That's not a major issue. It's a lifelong condition that needs serious care and careful daily management. A diagnosis like that should trigger immediate changes in a parent's routine. Everything from the way meals are planned, to the snacks offered, to how physical activity is monitored and encouraged. Blood sugar monitoring and well balanced diet become central to a child's day to day life. But based on what's visible in Alex's content, nothing appears to have changed at all. She continues to post pictures of unhealthy meals, frozen snacks that are often high in sodium and low in nutrients, sugary drinks that can cause dangerous spikes in blood sugar, and greasy fast foods that's far from diabetes friendly. These are not occasional treats. They seem to be regular parts of their diet. If the diagnosis is accurate, these kinds of meals are not just unhealthy, they are harmful. They put our son's health at even greater risk. Diabetes doesn't just go away. It's not something that can be ignored or brushed off. It requires real commitment and real knowledge. Daily tracking of blood sugar, understanding how different foods impact glucose levels, and managing energy levels all become crucial. Parents in similar situations often learn how to count carbohydrates, adjust insulin doses, and structure meals that support long term health. Many even work closely with dietitians and pediatric oncologists. But there is no sign of that kind of involvement or adjustment happening in this case. And that's what makes this so hard to ignore. We are not just talking about a bad food choice here and there. We are talking about an ongoing pattern that suggests there is no plan, no urgency, and no understanding of how serious this condition is. Without proper care, diabetes can lead to long-term complications, including damage of organs, eyesight issues, and more. That's why people are so alarmed, not just by the diagnosis, but by the complete lack of response afterward. Fed is best misused. There is a phrase people like to use, fed is best. And yes, in many parenting discussions, that phrase can offer comfort. It's often used to push back against the pressure parents feel to meet perfect standards, especially when it comes to infant feeding. But in this case, it's being used to justify dangerous choices. Feeding your kids matters, but what you feed them matters just as much. Sugary snacks and heavily processed food are not healthy options, especially when there is a suspected health condition involved. Feeding should support growth and well being, not contribute to illnesses or further medical complications. When someone else uses fed is best to defend offering daily meals filled with sugar, salt, and preservatives, it becomes a cover, not a justification. It's a way to avoid accountability while still pretending to check a parenting box. Saying fed is best doesn't work if the food is worsening someone's condition or putting them at risk. That's not support, that's neglect. Feeding your child should be about providing nourishment, not just calories. It's not about making sure a child isn't hungry in the moment. It's about thinking long term. It's about setting them up for healthy development, emotional stability, and a relationship with food that's balanced and safe. And when people try to shield poor food choices behind comforting phrases, they're missing the point entirely. The concern isn't that she's feeding them, it's what she's feeding them and how consistently bad those choices are. That's where the real issue lies. Bruises revisited. The earlier photos of bruises are not something anyone should ignore. These aren't one-time bumps or bruises from active play. These look like marks left by force, more defined in areas that don't match up with normal childhood accidents. Upper arms, thighs, backs. These are areas that suggest someone grabbed or struck. These aren't the kinds of scrapes or bruises you get from climbing or tripping. And when you pair that up with Taylor's online comment about discipline, it creates a very uncomfortable picture that raises questions about what discipline actually looks like in that home and who it's directed at. Then there is a video where one of the boys said, "My dad hits me more than my mom." That wasn't a joke. That wasn't taken out of context. It was said clearly, without hesitation, during a live stream. And most importantly, no one in the room reacted. No adult paused to check on the child. No one laughed nervously or corrected the statement. It was just brushed off like it didn't matter, as if hearing a child say that was normal. That reaction, or complete lack of reaction, is important. It sends a message to the child that what they say doesn't matter, that their pain isn't important or worthy of acknowledging. And that silence from the adults, especially in a public setting, tells everyone watching exactly what kind of environment that is. It normalizes the behavior and teaches the child that no one will step in, even when something serious is said out loud. That kind of silence is dangerous. It validates harm instead of stopping it. A cry for help. It's been said that before Taylor returned to the home, the oldest son allegedly said he didn't want to live there anymore, that he felt unsafe, that he would do anything not to be there. For a child that age to express that kind of fear is serious. It's not something kids usually articulate clearly unless the situation has escalated to a level that feels unbearable. It should have prompted immediate action, at the very least, an investigation into why he felt that way and who or what was making him feel unsafe. But instead, Taylor came back. He moved back into the home as if nothing had, and the same concerning behaviors followed. Being seen holding objects that made viewers feel uneasy, acting in ways that raised more red flags. These weren't small moments either. They were public and unsettling. And yet, Alex still welcomed him in. There was no visible hesitation, no explanation, and no boundary set to protect the kid's emotional safety. This is the point where many viewers started to realize that the issue wasn't just with Taylor, it was also with Alex's decision. Because once you know someone makes your child feel unsafe and you bring that person back, that's a choice. And it's a dangerous one. It signals to the child that their feelings aren't valid, that their fear doesn't matter, and that the adult's comfort take priority over their safety. That kind of decision isn't just careless, it can be deeply damaging. It tells the child that even when they speak up, nothing changes. Mental health is not a shield. Some people try to defend Alex by saying she might be mentally unwell. And yes, mental health struggles are real and serious. Many people deal with anxiety, depression, or trauma in different ways, and they deserve compassion and understanding. But there is a very important line here. Struggling mentally does not give anyone a free pass to neglect responsibilities, especially not when those responsibilities include caring for others. Mental health issues can make life harder, yes, but they don't excuse putting others, especially vulnerable ones, at risk. If someone is aware that they are not mentally well, that should be even stronger reason to step back, seek help, and prioritize safety for everyone involved, not a reason to keep going like nothing's wrong and continue harmful behavior unchecked. Alex isn't without options. She has internet access, which means she can look up mental health services, talk to professionals, or even reach out to supportive communities. She has a large online following, which she could use to ask for help or share her challenges honestly. She receives gifts from strangers and engages with a wide digital audience, meaning there is a support network available, one that could offer assistance if she were actually looking for help. But instead of using that access to improve her situation or protect her household, she keeps producing content. She keeps collecting gifts and attention while the conditions around her remain disorganized and alarming. Mental illness should never be used as a shield to deflect accountability. It's not a catch all excuse to avoid taking responsibility. There are countless people with mental health issues who still make sure their homes are safe, their children are cared for, and their actions don't harm others. Getting support is a real option. Making changes is a real option. But Alex hasn't done either. And that silence, that indication, speaks louder than any diagnosis ever could. The system is silent. What's maybe the most infuriating part of all this is how the system has remained completely silent. With so much content available publicly, photos, videos, and comments shared openly across platforms, it's genuinely shocking that child welfare agencies haven't stepped in more aggressively. The information isn't hidden or vague, it's out there for anyone to see. Repeated signs of danger, neglect, and questionable parenting choices are being broadcast live and posted daily. There are people online raising alarms every single day, some even tagging local and national authorities, hoping that someone will finally take notice. And yet, there is no visible indication that the situation is being actively monitored or that any serious steps are being taken behind the scenes. These kids are being let down, not just by the adults in their lives who should know better, but also by the institutions that are supposed to step in when things go wrong. It's not just a personal failure, it's a systematic one. The silence from those who are trained and paid to intervene is just as disturbing as the issues being exposed. It tells the public that even with overwhelming evidence, action is not guaranteed. The system has clear protocols for these kinds of situations, standards to follow up, thresholds for investigation, and safety assessments that are supposed to be initiated when risk factors are present. But in this case, none of those steps seem to have been taken, or if they were there is no indication they were followed through effectively. And that's part of why this story keeps gaining traction. Because viewers aren't just witnessing concerning content, they are witnessing the failure of oversight in real time. They are watching something unfold that should have been stopped long ago. And they're realizing that the safety net that's supposed to catch vulnerable families might not be working at all. Still online. Even now, Alex continues to post as if everything is fine. She goes live regularly, shares updates, and presents a curated version of her life that looks carefree and under control. Her follower count continues to grow. She receives free items from her wish list almost weekly, gifts sent by well meaning strangers who only see part of the picture. Viewers often leave comments praising her strength or offering financial support through tips or gifts. But behind the screen, the reality hasn't shifted. The same concerns that were there months ago are still present today. The same red flags, the same environment. Nothing improves. Nothing changes. Her online presence is now functioning like a shield, one that deflects criticism and masks deeper issues. Instead of being held accountable for her choices and the state of her household, she is being pushed further into the spotlight. The more content she posts, the more views and engagement she gets. It's a feedback loop, and in that loop, it becomes harder and harder to know if anyone behind the scenes is actually watching with intent to intervene. Because from the outside, it looks like visibility is being mistaken for safety. This is what happens when digital platforms prioritize popularity over accountability. The more dramatic or chaotic the content, the more it spreads. Comments pour in, shares multiply, and yet, the people who should be stepping in to ask hard questions, to look deeper, or to provide protection still don't. The system remains quiet and the cycle continues unchecked. Final thoughts. There is a saying, not everyone who can have kids should raise them. This situation seems to reflect that idea. Alex has been given opportunities to change, to protect, to improve, and has repeatedly chosen not to. And the people paying the price are the ones with no voice. These young ones deserve more. They deserve to live in a space that's clean, calm, and full of care. They deserve to be protected, not just by their family, but by the systems designed to support them. And they deserve to grow up knowing they mattered. Now we ask, why hasn't more been done? Why are these situations still being ignored? And why is someone being rewarded online for choices that put others at risk? Leave your thoughts below. Keep the conversation going because staying silent only lets the cycle continue. let's make sure people keep paying attention and demanding better.